taking 30 and 45 minutes to talk to every single person. So in my mind, I'm thinking more along the lines of how can we get them on the phone in, 3 minutes to 5 minutes, set an appointment with them, schedule a next event, and figure out a way to hand them off so that we can keep up with the rate. The response rate that you're telling me is kind of important.
Well, and I like how you mentioned specialized model, because that's kind of one of the terms that we use internally at Inside Sales. There's generalist models and then there's specialist models. And I want to come back to it when I talk a little bit more about our platform. I wanted to come back to some of the services that we can also wrap around our technology, where we can actually flip on a switch with a lot of our customers and they'll see gains already in volume of calls and even in the contacts. But when we get in there and we're able to apply some of our consultative services and our training, we've actually seen those gains be magnified beyond that. So we can get back to this because we can provide some best practices around there if we're able to come in and really understand to a greater degree all of the different components of your sales
So
process.
maybe underneath that put hiring, because we're going to have to hire.
Now you talked about that, and I'll just say, Microsoft, they turned on our services and they were able to see an increase of, what was it? I think they said they doubled their call volume once they employed Inside Sales Services, and their response was that was 10 less reps we had to hire. I'm not saying you're not going to have to hire to get to this 18 million, because I can't imagine you being able to do it entirely off of Inside Sales, but the amount you're going to have to hire, and again, hiring right is the key. So let's put that down here as one of the strategies. And before I kind of elaborate a little bit on how we approach it from a technology perspective, what's the consequence of not doing that 18 million and not being able to make some of these improvements and achieving these things towards that $18 million?
Well, from a company perspective, we're not going to be able to hire if we don't have cash flow. That's going to be a challenge because in order to hire, we've also got to, get into new space, and so we're not going to be able to make a move to a building that's going to accommodate the new people unless we have, the space to do it, and we're not going to probably be able to get the tools that we need in order to accommodate those new people. So it's restrictive in the sense that I'm getting handed a number of 18 million, and the owner's telling me he's got strategic plans to, double and triple, 50 to 100% growth every year, and he's got these big plans to do it. But if we fail to hit this number, then, I guess a personal consequence to me is I have a pretty solid bonus strategy. Let's be totally candid, that rides on me hitting that number. And
I'm probably not the only one that's driven by a bonus.
No.
On the executive team, I imagine there's others that have triggers associated with this.
Right.
If I hear you right, if you're not able to show the right growth towards that 18 million, strategic expansion, is some of that expansion international? I'm just curious, or is it all domestic?
It's North America, so we can't expand into Canada, which is exciting to us, and we can't expand our services here in North America. But bottom line is, it's going to limit our ability to grow if we can't show, I would say one other thing that we did buy Salesforce and implement Salesforce for the one and only purpose of increasing accuracy and forecasting. Okay. And I think one of the other challenges that we're talking about here is that if I can't increase the accuracy and forecasting somehow by increased visibility into the numbers that you're telling me, that's going to be a challenge for us in terms of how do we go about growing in the right fashion if our accuracy and forecasting is still plus or minus, 40%.
Yeah, I was going to say, so forecasting over here is right around 40%.
Well, and I came from two companies when we're in the single digits, so you're going to have to put 5 to 10% there. We've got to get to that number.
Greater than 90%
accurate, yeah.
Forecast. Got it. And in partnership, you and I, Steve, are really trying to build this case. I mean, I don't have any hidden agenda here. I'd love to be able to partner with you to help you achieve some of these objectives, really with the end goal of getting you to that. So, 6 months down the road, when I'm sitting with the next prospect across the table, I can start bragging about what Kaspersky Lab was able to accomplish with Inside Sales. So let me change gears real quick. I mentioned that we have a platform of services that pulls really 3 different levels, or levers: your people, your performance, and prospects. And we do that largely with a platform that addresses your ability to communicate more effectively with your customers. And then elevate or accelerate that performance, or elevate that performance and then finally accelerate. And when I talk about those 3 words, it's important for me to now introduce some of the core behind our solution, which is really driven by an engine. It's an engine of data science. Our CEO regularly talks about the secret to unlocking maximum performance is science. And so you apply science to human behavior or human performance, and you're going to accelerate it the maximum level. We use a word internally, you'll see, I don't want you to focus on it too much today, but neurolytics. And it's effectively an artificial intelligence of sorts. It's a predictive analytics engine that drives all of this. So as we're deploying our services that put you in a position to more immediately respond to leads and more effectively call the right people, the right prospects, all of these interactions that your sales team has as they're dealing with this marketing lead pool and they're starting to try and extract as much value in terms of pipeline on that as possible, those interactions are feeding our engine, and our engine is learning every time. And so when we start to learn the behavior of your prospects, we can be prescriptive, more on target of what prospects you should be calling. And then when we log those activities and we record them and we do this, and this updates in real time, we start to understand, okay, this is the behavior, so now next time you reach out to them, you want to reach out in that way. And not only that, but this is the sales personality that's calling these, and we can start to feed back into the system those that are hiring and be more intelligent about the people they want to hire, because we see what background and demographic of individual is performing on your sales floor. We can start to refine their performance and continue to have this exchange between our engine and the platform.
Where does, one question real quick, you mentioned last time we spoke something about gamifying and gamification of the sales floor. And you know, I've been a sales leader in 5 different companies, and I've always struggled with this idea of there's got to be more to motivating and inspiring people than just, you know, paying them more money and, you know, the week after week, spiff after spiff, that's all about the money. So one of the things that we talked about last time that I'm a little unclear on is, where does gamification fit in this whole...
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to admit this only amongst us, never to be repeated in front of my boss. As a VP of sales, I'm one to tell you my emphasis in my studies was organizational behavior, and money's not a motivator. There are other things that are motivating intrinsically in a sales organization's behavior, where they rank against their peers and the recognition that they're getting. There's other things that can motivate your sales floor. And so our gamification is part of our platform. It's built within, and it's also impacted and driven by our predictive analytics. But it lies between people and performance. So we actually give you visibility as a management team into the performance of their sales team, and we can report against their number of calls, but also, I mean, pretty much anything that can be tracked as an activity field in Salesforce and gathered, collected by our system, can be used as a motivating activity to drive. So in our own office, we start to put up and celebrate on our big TV monitors throughout our office anytime someone sets a new appointment, or anytime someone finds a new opportunity, or anytime someone closes a deal. And so you can determine that, and you can even have reps from their monitor do what we call a throwdown and challenge someone else on the sales floor. Okay, for the next 30 minutes, the person who sets the most appointments, you know, has to get the other one, buys them lunch or whatever, and you start doing this throwdown, and then there's even a chime or a music that can play out. We make fun with it, but in today's rising generation of salespeople, that's becoming more and more.
Bro, you don't have to tell me. I'm turning around, I'm looking at the average age of our guys, and we're like Gen X, Gen Y, millennials running around this place, and it's not like the old school places that we used to be.
Yeah, they just relate to that whole concept, and so, you know, it's something that energizes and that they're excited about. So we need to kind of wrap this up. I know that you're short on time. I really appreciate the time you've given us. I'm hoping that you can kind of see, you know, conceptually now how we can help you through this platform, bridge from where you're at today and what you're accomplishing, your status quo today, to where you want to be tomorrow. And I'll tell you this, I mentioned it in the middle of my discussion, and I want to come back to it. We have a lot to learn about you. We don't pretend that in the few conversations we've had, we know everything there is, but we're willing to invest in you. And if you would sponsor us, and in a sense, if you would agree to give us access to your key stakeholders on your management team, not just in sales, but we'd invite those people from marketing. We need to understand what are those aspirations and goals they have, and we can help be some of the glue to get this alignment that you're looking for there. But we'd like to come back out with a member or two of our consulting team and be able to sit down with you folks and really get into the nitty-gritty of your processes and your people and explore further what the fit might be. I feel like there's a fit. How do you feel about it, Steve?
I think from what we've been able to talk about today, I think it seems reasonable to explore another round of conversations with people who own the performance management parts of my team.
Okay.
You know, as you are well aware, you know, I'm not able to keep my finger on everything that's going on, and I'd rather that we have these conversations with some of my key management and let them talk to you about some of the challenges they're faced with, just to make sure that I've got the support I need. Trust me, after shoving Salesforce down their throat and seeing the pushback that I've been getting, I'm not going to make that same mistake again because somebody tells me that this is an organizational must-have. I for sure want to have buy-in on their part if we're going to move forward.
Okay. So could we list maybe a couple of those key players?
So probably Kelsey, K-E-L-S-E-Y, who's the director of HR, and anything to do with hiring, we would probably want to bring her in. We probably want to have Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, from marketing, and he manages the marketing team.
Anyone else? Operational?
Yeah, probably Alan, who is operations manager. And I'm interested in what Keith might say. I mean, you know, we pay the CFO to tell us no on pretty much every decision that we make unless we can prove to him otherwise. But I'd like to get his feedback on something that you said to me that was interesting on our prior call, is just any reallocation of money that we're spending that we don't know about, that's a blind spot to us, but interests me much more than going to him with a request for extending ourselves even further based on where we're at. I would like to see if we can reallocate some funds, because let's face it, Kelsey doesn't have near the budget, nor does anybody else that Aaron does in marketing. And if we can figure out a way to help Aaron see the real benefit to him, then who knows, maybe we can tap into some marketing money to partially fund what we're doing.
Ultimately, is Keith the one that's going to sign in order?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I need his blessing to move forward, so yes.
Does he actually put the signature on
actually,
enterprise solution?
He's actually going to tell purchasing to cut the PO, but he is the guy who's going to bless it.
Right on. Well, why don't we do this? I'll take a snapshot of this whiteboard and I'll email it over to you. We can do it right now. And I'll probably have a few notes that I want to add in there of some impressions I've had or some thoughts that I wasn't able to capture on the whiteboard. But if you could take that and maybe share it preemptively with some of these people, any highlights you want to share with them before we meet. Do you have an idea of timing? Is it possible that we're able to come in this week or next?
Sure.
To be able to have this follow-up visit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take you to meet with them, but I'm guessing if you and I could meet again in like 2 to 4 weeks, give you enough time to meet with them, and then you can come back and I'm interested in your consultative, report back to me on where you think we're strong, where you think we're weak, and if there's potential blind spots, certainly I want to know where they are.
Well, my commitment to you is we can even come back with a proposal of a return on investment. We can come back with a strong feeling of what we think we can get in terms of return for you. And we'll need this team's help. So we'll do that. Love to set a line in the sand to be able to come back and visit with you in 2 weeks. I'm sure that I can get my resources. If you can maybe send an email to these folks and let them know I'll be reaching out to them, then we'll get that scheduled. And I'll give you an update as I'm meeting with these folks so you know when it's happening.
Okay.
Appreciate your time. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot, Steve.
Sounds good, thank you.